Hello to all the debt warriors listening, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. I'm your host, Katie Fata. Happy New Year, debt warriors. This is the first episode of the new year, 2022, and we want to start the new year off on the right financial foot. Today's episode will hopefully help you on your new year financial journey. We'll be discussing setting intentions for your finances and practicing money mindfulness. By setting intentions for your finances, you're giving your finances a purpose. Today, I'll be joined by Laura Walker. Laura is a credit counselor at Navicore and has been with Navicore for almost 27 years. Laura and I will be discussing financial intentions, SMART goals, tools that can help you set intentions for your finances, money mindfulness, and much more. Now, let's get to my interview with Laura. Hi, Laura. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. This is the first podcast of the new year, so I'm excited to have you on. Today, we're going to be talking about setting intentions for your finances. So I thought we could start off by just letting everyone know, what are financial intentions?
Okay. Well, I think to me, a financial intention is sort of a broad way of thinking about making changes in your lifestyle to align with your goals. So I think it's sort of looking at the bigger picture rather than setting specific goals. For example, if I want to feel better about my financial situation, then I think I have to start thinking about, well, what changes, can I make that will help me to end up reaching my goals? Like maybe paying off debt or building emergency savings. And certainly by accomplishing these changes, I'm going to feel better about my financial situation. So I think it's just a broader way. And I think it's the fuel that drives me to stay motivated with my finances.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think also, like you said, changes, just like little lifestyle changes rather than like having a specific deadline for something. You want to kind of change your overall life, like maybe less impulse spending and give yourself time to think about a purchase rather than just buying it, especially with online shopping.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always like to move something in my cart overnight and see if I really want it the next day.
Yeah. And it's funny because those are things that I think about all the time as well. So we're certainly on the same page.
Yeah. I think, that's a good way to set intentions for your finances. So can setting financial intentions help your overall financial health?
Oh, I definitely think so. I feel like if you don't feel good about your finances, it's definitely going to cause a lot of stress. I also think that we have to deal with money our whole life. So it is so important not to have that stress. I often say to clients, do you want to control your money or do you want your money to control you? I know where I'd rather be. Poor financial well-being can affect us in so many ways, physically, mentally, and it can interfere with, all aspects of our lives. So I think it's very important to have a handle on our finances. I think, again, for many, it means making changes. And I think that once you start to see the changes, it motivates you to continue on that new path. And the longer you stay on the path, the better your financial situation becomes. And then, of course, the better you feel. And I don't know, I think we all have things in life that we don't have control over, but I think our finances is something we can have control over. And that's just one less stress that we have to deal with. So it definitely affects us financially, health-wise.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because even things like implementing small changes, such as taking time to actually buy your own food rather than like going to a restaurant or something last minute, that can affect your finances because you're not impulse spending, and then also affect your health because you'll probably eat healthier. Yeah, I think it all definitely affects everything. We have a bunch of blogs about that I'll put in the description of this podcast that you can also take a look at if you would like some more information on that. So how can you set intentions for your finances?
I think creating like a money mantra is a great way.
Okay.
Because I think it helps remind yourself of your goals. I have many mantras that I try to live by.
I love that.
But basically what a mantra is just a short, powerful statement that kind of makes you feel good about what you need to do. And I think they can help us, refocus and get back on track if need be. It could be anything as simple as just reminding yourself that money is hard work, but there is great reward. Sometimes I might say to my clients, just think how good you're going to feel, when you get your debt under control and you pay it off. One of my favorite ones that has nothing to do with money but has to do with weight is I often say to myself, nothing tastes as good as thin feels. So just those little powerful statements, I think, go a long way.
Yeah. I think like people could think about areas that they want to change in their finances too. Like kind of like you were talking about the paying down the debt. It's like that's the specific area you want to change, and it'll be, or like even with with what we do, increase your credit score, something like that. I mean, in the moment, it might not be great, but like think about how you're going to feel after. I love that.
Exactly. There's that, reward at the end.
Yeah.
And I know for me, that's what kind of always keeps me motivated, and that fuel that we talked about.
Right. Definitely. So, there's a lot of aspects in a person's financial life. So how can someone determine what matters to them most financially?
I think that's a great question. I think you have to decide what gives you the most pleasure. Is it owning a home? Is it having a baby, a family? Is it being able to vacation regularly? I think we all have things in life that we'd like to have or accomplish. And I think we need to think about those things before we kind of set off on our own financial journey. So I think it's really just having that conversation with yourself and, working toward the things that give you the most pleasure in life.
Yeah. It's obviously different for every person.
Yeah.
So definitely like maybe even like someone can like make a list maybe of all their financial goals and then rank them to help them decide.
That's a great idea. I love that idea. Absolutely. Yeah.
Write everything down. And then if you see it visually, that could help determine, and then maybe make a new list of the order you would like to accomplish them in. That could help somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in the writing things down. I think it goes a long way. Yeah, I agree with you.
Because when you see it visually, it could change too.
Yeah.
Like, do I really want that? So yeah, I think that's some good advice for someone. So, what are some basic financial goals someone can set for themselves?
Well, again, when I talk to clients, as you know, I've been counseling for many years.
Yes.
One of the biggest things I hear all the time is, I just want to pay off this debt.
Yeah.
Certainly having emergency savings, I think, is huge, because so often we end up in the debt because we don't have that savings in the first place.
Yeah.
So when the rainy day comes along, and it will, you want to try to be prepared. We probably never have enough, but certainly having some, and again, it relieves that stress. And the other thing I often hear is, I need to build better credit. People are getting turned down for loans, or if they're getting the loans, the rates are high. So I think those are three huge financial goals for most people: getting rid of any debt that they have, building that savings, and building good credit.
Right. I know in the last podcast, I kind of talked about savings versus paying down debt. So but I feel like there is a way to do them both at the same time. Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I absolutely do. And one of the tricks to that, which I'm also a big fan of, is the paying yourself first rule.
Yeah.
If you can pay yourself as if it were a bill, and you get into that habit, you start to see the savings grow. Again, it feels good. Or better yet, have it automatically deducted where you don't see it in the first place. And then at least that part is sort of on, autopilot. It's just kind of doing its thing and building. And you will always be happy you have some emergency savings.
Yeah,
Always.
exactly. And I like how you said about, I definitely love how you said about people are in debt because they might not have that emergency savings.
Yeah,
Like it's so
very
important to
true.
have that.
It is so important. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think that stuff, those are definitely some good financial goals people can start setting for themselves if they haven't already. So when people have set these goals, how can they be mindful with their new money goals?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it
Mhm.
earlier, that thinking about your spending and not just spending
Okay, yeah.
is so important. And that's a big thing for a lot of people because I really think a lot of people do just spend without
Yeah.
intentionally, here we go, again with the intention, without intentionally thinking about
Yeah.
it. And then one of the things I think we've all heard a million times in life is, you ask yourself that age old question, is this a want or a need? So just to change that mindset of getting in the habit of spending intentionally. And it's amazing the changes that can take place when you are mindful. Again, going back to using weight, I think so many of us can relate to that as
Hmm.
well. It's the same thing. If you're mindful of everything you put in your mouth, chances are you're going to be healthier. And as a result, you're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's really the same with spending. Um, so I think just being in the present more with your money and your spending really will start to change things for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, definitely a good point. I feel like a lot of young people, maybe people my age, they just spend, especially with online
Yeah,
shopping or something. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
they could definitely get you with these like 1 day sales or something. So maybe you don't need another pair of whatever. So definitely
Right,
think about it. Yeah,
absolutely. And
definitely.
that takes a little bit of practice, it's
Yeah.
something you kind of have to work
I get,
at.
yeah, 100%. You
Yeah,
definitely, yeah, it'll take time, but your finances will
yeah,
thank you later.
that's exactly right, Katie.
Yeah, so we've been talking about
Exactly right.
goals and everything. One thing we have a bunch of articles or blogs on our website about is SMART goals. So should you make your money goals SMART goals? And then maybe we could talk about what is a
I,
SMART goal if people don't know.
yeah, oh, absolutely. SMART stands for
Yeah.
specific,
Mm-hmm.
measurable, achievable,
Mm-hmm.
relevant, and
Mm-hmm.
time
Yeah.
bound. Again, yes, I think it's a great sort of tool because, again, it brings you back to being, more mindful, and I think that's the key. But I think the SMART goals, they set measurable criteria so that you can see the progress you're making.
Uh-huh.
And again, you just can't wing it. I think you need something more concise. And I think without a clear target, you're not going to hit the mark. So I
Yeah.
am definitely a fan of SMART goals for sure.
Yeah. So like you think you're more likely to achieve your goals if they're SMART goals.
I do. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think the method gives you like a sense of direction, keeps you
Mm-hmm.
organized, keeps you focused. Um, so I have seen it work with a lot of clients where we do like ongoing coaching. We talk about using the SMART goals, and it does seem to work. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it makes things less vague. Instead of saying, I just want to save money, you could say, I want to save blank by blank for blank. So it gives you more of a reason to save and more achievable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. When you have a clear vision in mind, it keeps you more focused than I know I need to save, so let me
Yeah,
put some money aside.
exactly.
So that's why I think it works for people.
I think it's great, especially for finances. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so how can somebody hold themselves financially accountable?
Well, I think there's a couple things. To me, I think the most important thing is to have some sort of a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is something we talk about to clients every single time we speak with a client, the importance of having that budget. And then again, I like writing things down. I like actually seeing it. But a budget is basically a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it keeps us in check, and it allows you to see exactly what you're doing, where your money's going, and that helps you make better financial decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I myself have been living with a budget for so long, I would feel lost without it. I
Right.
could never even function without a budget.
Right.
I also think sometimes having a partner to give you some support is great.
Right.
So I think those are the two things
Yeah.
that I really like. But I also feel like, again, back to the budget, not to harp on it, but it truly works.
Mm-hmm.
That, when you constantly know what you have, where it's going, what's going on, do I have money left over, then maybe you could reward yourself a little bit. Do something fun with a little extra money, or buy yourself something that you really want. And then that way you won't feel deprived.
Mm-hmm.
And I also find that when you don't feel deprived, you keep on track and you don't feel guilty about maybe making that purchase where you were trying to be so good for a while. So those are the things I kind of use.
Yeah, I think those are great examples, especially the budget and tracking your spending too, to see where your money's going. Yeah, you definitely should be doing that.
I think you need both.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think if you have a budget, it's great. But I think you also really need the tracking. I think the two go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they really help tremendously.
Yeah. I think especially nowadays with all these subscription services and stuff, you might not even realize what you're paying for. So definitely keep track of all that.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So definitely have a budget and keep track of your spending. And, that's definitely ways to hold yourself financially accountable. So, what are ways to help remind yourself to check in with your money? Then how often do you think a person should be checking in with their overall financial wellness?
Well, I check my bank accounts on a daily basis these days.
Yeah.
I do that because there's so much, as we all know, hacking and fraud.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I literally check my accounts every single day. I feel safe doing a daily check just to make sure nothing is being compromised. But then I take a look at my spending at the end of each week, not daily. I really don't have the time to do that. But each week I kind of go back and look just so I can take notice of any overspending that might be taking place. And then again, that just keeps me refocused and, keeping a handle on things.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's a good idea, though, to check accounts because I talk to clients. I have family and friends that have been compromised. So it's a scary world, and we really have to keep an eye on our finances.
Yeah. And I think if there's any way to check your bank account and have some kind of like push notifications on where you can get an alert of anything that you might not have spent, that could also help people to check in with their money.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or to go back to the budgeting, like the budgeting apps, some of them have like notifications that'll tell you you're getting close to going over this month. So there are definitely so many ways with the phones to help check in with your money and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some tools that can help someone set intentions for their finances?
Well, I think you just hit a very large one when you mentioned like the app.
Yeah.
Back when I was first, starting out as a counselor and taking over my own household finances, there were no such thing. But there's a lot of great apps these days that can really, not only watch things like you were just saying, but help you change your mindset about money. Right. So definitely look into those. There's so many of them, and they all do a couple little different things, but overall, they're great. And then again, we go back to the budget, which is just so important to help control your lifestyle. And, it works with trying to prevent that debt and help with, just keeping you on track, increasing your savings. And I just really think, I know I sound like a broken record, but to me, that budget is a living, breathing document. And I think it really is a guide that we all need. Without a plan of any kind.
Agreed.
And again, going back to whether you're trying to lose weight or get, control of your finances, you need some sort of a plan. And without it, we tend to veer off.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's why I think I just keep harping on that, because it really does make a difference.
Yeah. And once you get into that budget, that plan, that routine, like you said, you would feel lost without it. It just takes time, maybe when it's new.
Yes, absolutely. And we send budgeting and tracking material to all of our clients.
Yes.
Just to kind of help them, because some people do say, where do I start, or which app is best? So we can definitely, help in that respect as well.
Right. You just got to get started and get in the groove. And then you got to stick to your budget once you're on it, and then you should be good. It's definitely a good tool. The budget is like the ultimate
with most
tool.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like with most things, getting started is always the hardest part. It truly is. But once you see results, it keeps you motivated and on track. And that's why it's so important.
Exactly. Yep. I agree. So we're going to kind of switch to money mindfulness. So what does it mean to practice money mindfulness?
I would say money mindfulness is sort of the state of being aware of your money. It is being conscious of your spending. It's noticing what you're doing with your money, how you feel about the choices you're making. Again, just being present, very aware of your spending habits. And it's important. Again, it gives you control over your finances. And then I think that being mindful, having that mindful spending, again, you and I have talked about or touched upon this a couple times already, but it gradually will change your habits and in the end help you reach those financial goals.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great explanation of being mindful of your money. Just know what's going on, because it's easy to just forget. So you just want to know what's going on. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are some ways to be more mindful of your money? Is there anything specific?
Well, absolutely. I definitely think some of the things that you mentioned earlier, and that is to, when it comes to spending, pause.
Okay.
Think about what you're about to spend your money on. And you kind of skirted around this yourself. I call it the old 24-hour rule, where particularly if you're in a store, I think this works. I've seen this work with myself many times, where I see something and I'm like, oh, I just love it. I have to have it. And it's definitely a want, not a need. So what I have done in the past is literally leave that item there and say to myself, you know what? See how you feel about that item in 24 hours. And if you really want it, I will go back and get it. But most of the time, I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. So that has helped me. And when it comes to credit cards, leave them at home. That's a big one. Again, especially in the stores, leave them at home, because if you have to dig them out, you are rethinking about that purchase.
Right.
And that's that kind of pause that we were talking about. Paying with cash is another very big one. A lot of us don't carry a lot of cash, myself included. But if you are going shopping, that could be a way of keeping you in line with your budget, that you have a certain amount of cash and you can't spend more, particularly if you left those credit cards at home. And then again, the online shopping, get rid of the one-click online purchases. I'm guilty of this too.
Yes.
They've made it so easy to shop online.
I know. I don't have to get up anymore.
Exactly. And I think COVID made us all even, worse at this. It's changed. I know it's changed me in terms of a lot of the ways I shop. And when it comes to grocery shopping, and this is something I honestly practice, and I have done this for years and years and years. First of all, every week I keep a running tab of the things I need. So again, on paper, because I'm a write it down girl, I keep a running tab of things I need. And then as I'm approaching, it's time to go to the grocery store, I actually write out my menu for the week.
Okay.
And the items I need for dinner. And then this way, when I get to the grocery store, I do very little impulse shopping. I stick to my list. And sticking to the list not only saves me money, saves me time in the store. And then during the week, I don't rack my brain, what am I having for dinner tonight? Because I know I've already written out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what I'm having for dinner. And that too saves me time and stress.
I love that. Yeah. So, a lot of people feel like they don't want to do that at the beginning of the week, but it will be way better for yourself later on in the week.
Oh, I could never go back the other way. I find without that list, then you're just throwing things in your cart.
Yeah.
And particularly these days with the prices being so high, if you can take just a few minutes and plan it out ahead of time, it just saves, as I said, everything all around.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah. I'm also big, I do look in the circular before I go. I know a lot of people my age probably would not do that, but I feel like it's such a good tip.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially with the apps, it's right on your phone for your probably every grocery store. I know mine is, so I just look before I go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really pays off. Mm-hmm. It really does. And again, it's one of those things that you get so used to doing. Mm-hmm. And the more you do something, in the end, the less time it really takes you to do it because it becomes so much more automatic.
Yeah.
And then if you go into a grocery store and you forget your list or you don't have it on your phone, you really feel lost.
I know? Exactly. I'm like, those are such good points.
I think a lot of these little things just really add up and in the end make a big difference.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So, if somebody at the beginning of the year is wanting to start this new financial journey for themselves, what point in the year should they check in with their new financial status?
Well, I think in terms of savings and spending and debt, it's probably a good idea to review every few months, just to see where you are, determine if you're on the right track, if you're staying on top of your money goals. The other thing I think is real important is, run your credit reports periodically. What I like to do is every January, to me, it's like, okay, new year, time to run the credit reports. And then this way I don't forget to do that. Just to, again, see where you are with your credit. Is there anything on there that shouldn't be on there? It's just very important. That's another thing to really keep an eye on, because in the counseling department, we do run credit reports for our clients. And, we often see things that shouldn't be there. And this way now the client can address it. So I think every couple months is fair to say, to really check in and kind of do a deep dive and look things over.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't do that, especially with their credit reports. They don't check them, so it's definitely good to check.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. Nope. And it really is important for sure. You don't even necessarily have to check your score, although you certainly can.
Right.
But I think it's more important just to make sure that everything on the credit report is accurate.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, because there could be fraud on there and you don't even know. So definitely keep checking. But I think you answered all my questions today, Laura. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. My pleasure.
If you weren't motivated before to get your finances on track this year, I think this podcast could help you get started with your financial goals. When setting intentions for your finances, it's important to think positively about your money. By having a positive money mindset, you're more likely to stick with the lifestyle changes associated with your new financial intentions. When creating your financial intentions, think about areas you want to change in your finances and why. Laura's advice about having a money mantra is great because it can really help you motivate you to stick to your financial lifestyle changes. Budgeting is something Laura and I mentioned a lot in this episode. Budgeting is so important because it gives your finances a plan. Budgets can be hard to start like anything else, but once you're in the groove of your new budget, you won't be able to imagine your life without it. There are a lot of tools out there to hold yourself and your budget accountable. Mint is a great budgeting tool. You can turn on your push notifications to remind you if you're going over your budget. Making your financial intentions SMART goals is also a good technique to help you accomplish them. By having SMART intentions, you're more likely to achieve them because they're specific rather than just vague intentions. Being mindful with your money will help you stick to your financial intentions. Laura provided some great ways to be more mindful with your money. So I really like the idea of bringing cash with you instead of a credit card. I personally do this a lot when I go out with my friends on the weekend. I like to only bring cash with me so I don't go over budget, and it's really helped me to not overspend on the weekends. And with that being said, that wraps up another episode of Millennial Debt Domination. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. In addition to rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, you can also now rate us on Spotify. So if you enjoy this podcast, please let us know. I'll talk to you next time, Millennials, Gen Zers, and everyone else listening. Bye.